Good afternoon, everybody. Keith Engel here with TGI Sports Talk's Major League Baseball update. Haven't been on in a few weeks, I think, because of my unfortunate run-in with the virus. So anyway, we're doing better. The voice gets a little gravelly sometimes, so I apologize, but we're back, and hopefully we can catch up. We'll talk a little bit about – I'll have Drew Ehrlich in a second. We're going to talk a little bit about the World Series, playoffs in general, I guess. We'll review our picks from the preseason to see how we did there. Maybe we'll get into some managerial updates or some other stuff at the end. So there's some news around baseball, but we'll do all of that and maybe some more. Want to say DDH, thumbs up. Welcome to anybody watching us on TGI Sports Talk on Northeast Streaming Sports, whether that's Facebook, YouTube, or on Roku. We're live on Roku on Fridays at 3. Let's talk sports. And of course, I want to give out special mention to Ralph Williams and RW Media, and specifically the Sports Corner, where he does his show with Smoking Jim Frazier in Pittsburgh on WBVP. That's 12:30 a.m. and 99.3 FM for those of you who are still on Celestial Radio, which I am myself. So good to have you guys with us. And without further ado, we'll bring in Mr. Drew Ehrlich. Good afternoon, Drew. How are you?
I am doing fine. Thank you for having me back on.
Oh, we got to do something with your thing, don't we?
Oh, yeah. You got to check all those boxes.
We got all about that. Let's see. Audio. What did I do before? It was yours, not mine. Mm-hmm. Bear with us. Good afternoon, Nick, by the way. While we're waiting here, Drew, you can fill us in on what you've been up to and tell a joke, I guess.
Tell a joke? Well, how about 2 wild card teams in the World Series? That was a joke to begin with, but it worked out well.
I think we got your voice fixed. So, yes, very surprising. I mean, we'll get into our selections. Neither one of us had either of these teams getting to the World Series. In fact, I had the Rangers way below where they were. Ironically, and we'll get into that. We'll dive deeper into it. But I had the Diamondbacks, I think, around 84 wins, 82, 84 wins. But not making the playoffs quite this year. I had them. I think they're a year ahead of where I thought they were, and I think you were in the same place. So great job by the Diamondbacks and Torey Lovello. Great job by the Rangers. Congratulations to all you Ranger fans. The Rangers' first World Series victory ever. The playoffs in general. You know, some people are happy. I see comments a lot with, congratulations to the Texas Rangers. You were the hottest team in October. So the Rangers had a good season, and they barely lost their division. So me, talking in general about the playoffs, I'll be honest with you, I did not watch many full games as I have in the past. I was disappointed in a couple of things. The format, I think, needs to be adjusted. Marv Manfred loves it. I know Tony Clark from the Players Association is not quite as enamored with it because of the 5-game division series, I think, more than anything. I mean, we saw, what did we see? 200 win teams out in the division series. What are your thoughts in general about that part of it?
I'm not, again, I mean, even with a best of 7, it's still a short series and anything can happen. I mean, we've seen that for centuries at this point. But 5 is really short. And, I mean, was it 2 or 3? I thought there might have been 3 100-win teams.
Maybe it was 3.
I mean, that's,
Oh, you're right. The Dodgers. Yeah, the Dodgers, too. I forgot about the Dodgers.
What's the purpose of 162? I mean.
This is my point. You play 162 games, and, you're going to end up with wild card teams in there. I get that. But, these guys shouldn't be playing at a disadvantage, and playing only a 5-game series, in my mind, gives them a disadvantage, especially when they've had to sit around for nearly a week to play when you're used to playing today.
And the addition of the 3rd wild card, which also convoluted everything. So, I mean, it hurts to see those teams do so well all year long and then just be cast out so abruptly and have it essentially mean nothing, which is, we've seen that happen even back when it was simply 2 leagues with no divisions and a really good team gets blown out, and they're heavy favorites, whatever. But
well, I'm okay though. But a team that played 100, the team had to play 162 teams to win their division, even if they won, 83 games like the 73
got
Mets.
into the series, yeah.
Right. I mean, at least then you still played to get to you beat the best in your division.
Right.
It's, you play 162 games and teams that finish 20 games behind, the teams that win 100 are advancing. I mean, congratulations to them, but you're basically just the team that's hot at the moment is the team that's going to win it, and not necessarily the best team.
No.
And I don't mean to disparage the Rangers either in that regard, but I think they got to make some adjustment here.
Yeah. Well, they're not going to.
Well, again, you might see them add 2 games to the division series. If it was up to me, we'd be going back to before 1994, and we'd have 2 divisions and two championship series, and that'd be it.
Well, then you got to get rid of some teams. So.
That will never happen, of course.
Shorten the season, also the 154. But yeah, it's difficult, and again, when you're adding all these teams and you're adding all these players, part of the reason they don't want 7 is because it extends the season into November, almost, and then you're going to have to shorten the season. Then I don't see any other way around it.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you. Even though I'm okay if the best team doesn't get there if they didn't play well, but
right.
The Diamondbacks, congratulations, they played excellent baseball in the month of October. They play a different brand of baseball than a lot of these teams, and I like it. I was rooting for them in the World Series only because they play not everybody and not every minute, but they play closer to the game of baseball that I know. Not the 3 true outcomes, not standing there styling at the plate like Garcia did unbelievably in Game 7 against the Phillies, an elimination game. He turns a double into a single, and he did it earlier in that series. I just get so tired of watching these guys aggrandize themselves, the ESPN syndrome. And I think we talked about it a little bit on a Sunday Stream of Consciousness, but they cheat themselves, they cheat the teammates, they cheat the game, they cheat the fans, they cheat everybody, including their own.
There are some fans that love the showboating. I'm not one of them, but
I don't get the backflips. I don't, I always remember Barry Sanders when he scored touchdowns. He handed the ball to the referee, and they asked him why he didn't have some elaborate, touchdown dance, and he said, "Because I like to pretend, or I like to act like I've been here before, and I expect to be back." And that carries over for all the sports to me. I mean, you can do some celebrating. I don't want you not to have fun, but the backflips and the taking 20 minutes to get around the bases and styling at home plate. I mean, yes, there's a certain group of people that like it. I've been called out to say, well, it's a cultural thing and you don't understand the culture. And I'm like, yeah, I understand the game, and you don't do that unless, especially if you don't want one in your ear hole the next time you get up. But if you do that, they're offended by that.
Yeah, the old Drysdale thing. Gibson. By the way, before we get too far along, rest in peace, Frank Howard.
Oh, yes, thank you. I knew I had a rest in peace. And I could not remember who it was this morning. Rest in peace, Frank Howard, an interesting player. I mean, when he came up with the Dodgers, he was hitting for a really high average. He won a batting title, I believe.
No, that was Davis. He was on the team with Tom.
Well, he was close. He hit for a really high average and not so many home runs for a big guy.
Right.
And then when he got to Washington, he just became just a monster hitting home runs.
Yeah.
And for a short period of time, he was one of the scariest guys teams could face on a bad team.
Hondo, yeah.
Yeah. And then he managed a few teams. He managed the Padres and the Mets for short periods of time. Anyway, didn't have a lot of success there. When he was a coach, for a long, long time on a lot of different teams. And, he's one of those guys that from a generation that is slowly shrinking, sadly.
It's scary, yeah, for us. Little bits of our childhood just keep dying off.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, gosh, it's sad. But, yes, rest in peace to Hondo for sure. He was one of my favorites.
Yep. And Nelson Cruz, who just retired.
Did Nelson Cruz finally retire?
Yeah.
God bless him.
Yep.
You were starting to crack up a little bit there again, and I turned it off, turned it back on, and now we're fine. So I'll keep an eye on that myself. That's usually when you're having a pop out.
Vagaries of electronics.
Yeah, right. So, again, congratulations to Rangers. They were the better team here. It was obvious. Their pitching was better than I thought it would be going into the series for the most part, although Scherzer, which we'll talk about in a second, certainly didn't help them any. You think this team has some staying power? I'm concerned for them. They got a lot of young kids, a lot of young players. Are they going to be able to afford to keep this team together? They're not the Yankees. They're not the Mets. They're not the Dodgers. And they got a lot of money tied up in Scherzer and DeGrom going forward. Well, Scherzer only 1 year, but still, this will start to affect this team, I would think, keeping some of their young guys.
Well, actually, Scherzer isn't a problem since the Mets are covering most of his salary.
Well, this is true.
So he's not. The DeGrom issue is, still an issue. He's not coming back at best till.
Well, you're also paying Seager and Simeon a lot of money, but at least they're playing every day. They're not, sitting at home collecting a check.
Yeah, I don't know how many of their guys are up for, not arbitration, being offered contracts, being tendered. I think they can definitely still contend for next year. They got several young guys that aren't up for anything as contractually. So they're going to have Young. They're going to have Evan Carter. Looks great. They're going to have Garcia, for better or worse.
And they've got some guys that, to me, that pitching is still going to be a problem next year if they don't address it in the offseason.
You and I both said that. We were both of the same mind that their pitching wasn't going to hold up, and it turns out it did. Only because Arizona had two starters and pray for rain. But so they met someone with a worse pitching situation. But I think they can definitely contend next year. The pieces, most of their pieces aren't going. And their young guys aren't up. So I think they're going to be able to hold it together for 1, maybe 2 years. Now, whether they actually make it's a whole nother question. That's the vagaries of the 162 game schedule.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I would like to have been able to root for this team in the World Series, but I just couldn't bring myself to do it after watching the way. And I'm surprised Bruce Bochy lets this stuff go on. He doesn't seem like a guy who would tolerate that, but maybe that's just where we're at, that the managers can't control this stuff anymore.
Well, he came out of retirement, so everything's gravy to him. So he's going to be a little more laissez-faire, I think.
I thought it was interesting, too. Corey Seager, I think the first question he got asked after they won was, why did the Dodgers let you go? And he wouldn't answer the question.
Yeah, there was a lot of ill will there. He wanted to stay. They just didn't want to give him that money because of his injury history. And
he did. He did have some problems with it with injuries during the year, but still, he came through at the right time. Second, he's only a fourth guy, I believe, to get 2 MVP World Series MVPs now, with Reggie, Koufax, and Gibson. Is he the new Mr. October? I don't know. People like to compare the overall playoff numbers, which again get a little skewed because there's so many playoff games now, right? Mantle set the records he set only in World Series. There was no other playoff games. Yep. And then if you match up Reggie and Seager just in World Series, that they played pretty much the same number of games, and Reggie far outclasses him. Not that Seager's numbers are bad; they're good. But Reggie in prime time he was one of a kind in my mind.
Yeah, he could turn it on. He was aware of the stage that he was on, and he performed accordingly. Interesting thing about Seager, however, it was predicted that he was going to be one of those guys that would benefit from the lack of infield shifts. He was usually on the top of everyone's list of who was going to see their average go up the most because of the shifts being limited. And that proved out to be true. I don't think anyone is expecting the numbers he had, but he had a good year, and not having the shifts definitely helped him.
Yeah, I'm still on the fence whether I like it or not. The only new rule that I like, since we're on that topic a little bit, I came to be okay with the pitch clock because it did improve the pace of the game. It did have some unintended consequences, which you're going to always have in these situations. But it was much easier and palatable to say, I'm going to turn the Yankee game on and know it'll be over by 9:30 or 10 o'clock at the latest, and not midnight. Yeah. So that didn't, I think that served its purpose. I'm still up in the air on the whole shift thing, and I'm still waiting for the ghost runner to go away.
I hate that thing.
At least we didn't have to look at it in the playoffs, I guess. But anyway, Nick did say who had the Rangers. Only Allen probably had it, as Rick says. But welcome, Rick, by the way. Or maybe, as he said, he wished they'd win. But hey, listen, I'm happy for any long-suffering Ranger fan who they never won anything. And when were good, they'd get beat by the Yankees in the first round of playoffs every year. So congratulations. I hope you enjoy the moment, and hopefully it continues for you. But that's all I got about the postseason myself, I guess. It was, there was some excitement. There was some drama here and there, but game one was, to me, turned this whole thing around when they blew the lead in ninth inning, the Diamondbacks, and then lost the game in extra innings. I think that took some wind out of their sails, even though they came back the next night. But
I felt so bad for Sewell. I mean, They acquired him at the trade deadline. It went under the radar. People were like, oh, okay, Seattle's got a bunch of good arms. That's not a problem in Seattle. And San Diego's like, yeah, we keep trying people for closers. We got ourselves a closer. Okay. He really did a great job. He took a position that was not doing anything for the Diamondbacks, solidified it, gave them someone to go to. He helped them get into those playoffs, and he helped them get through the playoffs. And then to see him just implode twice on the big stage was unfortunate.
Yeah, there's tough things for guys to get over, too. And, we saw a couple guys and some strange moves. Rob Thompson, who I love, I was shocked he brought Kimbrel back out there that second time when he just had such a heart-wrenching defeat so soon before. We've seen it before in the postseason. I'm trying to remember the guy's name for the Diamondbacks against the Yankees in 2001. I mean, the Diamondbacks ended up winning the series, but there was a guy, their reliever. God, I can't think of his name. And Bruce Brenly kept bringing him in every game, and he was blowing leads right and left. Yeah, he was an Asian player. I can't think of his name now.
Yeah, I can't either.
Yeah, maybe it'll come to me. But it was similar. That's the one that popped into my mind, and it's tough. You got to have the right mindset to come back out there after that type of loss. And the good ones have it, and the Bruce Passages of the world, they don't think about that, but he did not have it. I'm sure that was on his mind. What do we got here? The Vikings are now holding the dubious record of the oldest franchise not to win a championship.
Well, Rick would know.
I didn't know they were old. I guess I didn't know that the Rangers. I think the Rangers are younger, actually. So I think they held the record before, Rick. If that's the case, because they started in. There were the Senators in 64, 65, right?
60.
I want to say 60. Same year as Houston came in, I think. 64.
No, the National League came in a year after the American League expansion.
Yeah, because you have to remember, Rick, this is not the original. They were the Washington
61.
Senators, but they weren't the original Washington Senators. They went to Minnesota.
Yeah. The American Leagues were in 61, and the two National League teams came in 62.
Yeah. And I think the Vikings came in 60, so I think they held the record already, Rick. So you're safe. Don't worry, you're good. I don't think you're going to break that skid this year either. But that's a different show. That's a different show. Let's get into kind of what we looked at. We'll go kind of division by division quickly and see how we kind of did. I think it's a mixed bag at best, right?
No, it's a bad bag.
In the American League East. I think we both had the Jays winning.
No, I don't remember you had the Jays winning.
Maybe I had the Rays winning. I don't think I had the Rays. I think I had the Rays out of the playoffs.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, so that was not a bit good.
You might have had the Yankees.
I had the. Yeah, I might have picked the Yankees to win. I was a year off. Last year, I picked them not to make the playoffs and to win about 84 games, and I was a year off, apparently.
Right.
So I did have either the Jays or the Yankees. So either way, it wasn't a great pick. I did not have the Orioles making the playoffs. which I don't think you wild cards. You did not have the Orioles either.
No.
So we both missed badly on the Orioles. Didn't do great. You picked the Red Sox to finish last, so you get a coupon for that.
Ooh-wee.
The AL Central, I believe we both had the Twins.
Yep.
And you had the Guardians, and the White Sox, two of the bigger disappointments this year in baseball. I think I had the White Sox getting up the wild card actually in the second place here. And I think we both had the Royals in last. So we did well there. No, you had the Tigers in last.
Yeah.
The Royals who wanted to help, chase the Athletics down for that
Worst record ever.
They both broke my heart. I thought they both had a shot about midseason. So we didn't do too good there. Houston, I did have Houston winning the West. I know that.
Yeah.
And I had them going to the World Series, so that didn't work out. I had the Mariners second, which was you had as well, which is wrong. And neither one of us had the Rangers in the playoffs, I don't believe, because you had them picked fourth.
Yep.
You might have had them with a little better record than I had, if I remember. So in the American League, and we both who'd you pick to go to the World Series here? You picked.
I had the Blue Jays. That's the second year in a row I drank the Kool-Aid, and I'm done with them. On paper they're one of those paper teams. They look great. They upgraded their pitching. They got a great lineup. Their bullpen was second to none. Blah blah blah, and third place again. I'm just done with them. I keep picking them. I'm done.
I'm a little surprised that Bruce Schneider's not in trouble up there. I've heard no rumblings at all that he might get fired. Normally, managers are gone and fired by now anyway, if they're going to be.
Yeah.
I really thought they might make a move because they did disappoint at the end of the season here again, as they did last year. If you remember, they blew that huge lead in the wild card game. I would have thought with these two big letdowns 2 years in a row, he'd be in trouble. But because they are the most talented team, maybe in the American League at least.
Yep.
And as you said, the Kool-Aid gets it drunk, and they fail every year.
I'm done. That's 2 years in a row. I'm done.
I mean, to me, the Orioles were the biggest surprise here in the American League. Would you disagree with that? Would you think somebody else was a bigger surprise?
No. I think everyone expected them to move up with their kids.
Yeah.
Everyone, I think, felt they'd be held back by their pitching staff. Good bullpen, but their starters were nothing to write home about. They were definitely one of the three teams that was a year ahead of where I think most people expected them to be.
Yeah, the Rangers definitely. Again, I got to add them in there as maybe 1A because they did win the World Series, obviously. So in retrospect, even though they were 11 games worse in the regular season, they had a better year than the Orioles by winning the World Series. So I can't eliminate them. There's no shortage of disappointments in the American League.
Oh, God.
Obviously, the Blue Jays, even though they had the best record of the disappointments. The Yankees certainly have to be in there. The Guardians and White Sox, we already mentioned.
Yep.
And the Mariners, to me, disappointed because, they had a great streak to get back in this race, and then they faded again.
Yeah, but it was that streak before that doomed them. The fact they had to kill themselves to get back in it. It was too much to overcome, essentially. And they were supposedly with the best pitching staff in the AL.
Yeah.
And it didn't hold up.
Who would you, of these teams that we just mentioned, who would you think would improve next year? I'll be honest with you, my money would be on the Mariners to be the team that would improve. But again, I'd be drinking the Kool-Aid twice there myself.
That's the issue. I would have actually agreed, but
I'd like to say the Yankees, but I really don't know if that's going to be the case, to be honest with you.
No, they're going to just keep doing what they always do and end up where they.
There's too many things to fix.
Yeah. No,
and all I hear about is Soto. We don't need Soto because, first of all, he can't play left field in Yankee Stadium. He's not a good defensive outfielder, and it's the biggest left field in baseball.
Yep.
So you can't play him there. I just don't know what – you can't have Soto and Stanton on the same team. Not
can't have Stanton at all. At this point, that was a boondoggle that's killing you guys.
Yeah.
I think a team you want to watch for, I want to see what they do in free agency because they need pitching. They're in the same boat. But I think you want to watch the Tigers. I think you want to watch the Tigers. They've got a nice position player nucleus with all their young players that looks really good, but they need the pitching to support it.
Do we think that's for real this time? Because I thought this like 2 years ago, too, if you remember. They had a good run. A.J. Hinch's, I think, first year there. They had a really good second half. They were everybody's, dark horse the next year, and they've just folded.
Yeah. Well, that was last year because the rookies didn't perform as expected.
Yeah.
They brought them up, and they both stunk. They came into their own this year.
I think Hinch has done a really good job here. I heard some rumors that they may consider bringing him back to Houston, but why would he? I don't think I'd go if I was AJ Hinch.
After what happened, why he left in the first place? No.
Yeah, and I'm building something here, so I might as well stay here because the Astros are probably gonna, I think, fall back a little bit.
Maybe a little.
But, I think I'm going to stay with the Mariners as a team that's got a shot to improve here.
Yep.
And we'll get into, on another show, we'll get into some of the off-season stuff as it happens. We got the winter meetings coming up in a month or so. Lots of stuff to talk about. Let's look at the National League.
Yep.
In the
all
East,
the awards. Yep.
In the East, the Mets definitely killed me. I think I did have the Braves winning the division, I'm sure. And I had the Mets finishing second. And the Phillies, I think I had out of the playoffs. So I missed that one badly. You had the Braves, the Mets, the Phillies. I think you had the Phillies in the playoffs.
I did.
So we both missed the Mets. We killed it in the National League, by the way. We missed all 3 wild cards. And what did we get? 1. We got 2 of the divisions right, but actually, I didn't. I picked the Padres. I picked the Padres to win the division, actually. So I didn't get the division right even.
Yeah, I got a wild card at least. I'll take that.
Yeah. So. Not too much, the Phillies did a great job again near the end of the season where they were just up and, I will talk about on this show, the Phillies are either on a 4-game winning streak or a 4-game losing streak every week. But near the end of the season, they got it together like they did last year and looked like maybe the best team going into the playoffs at the time.
Yeah, that, a lot of people would attribute that to Harper coming back, but he came back in May. So it really was a matter of Trey Turner getting his feet up under him that accounted for why they managed to get so much better. Yeah,
kudos to him for he didn't have a great I don't think he had a great playoff, if I'm not mistaken, but at least he managed to withstand the Philadelphia fans, which couldn't have been easy that first 3 or 4 months of the season for him.
No, they're merciless.
You got to watch him. I don't know if you've seen it because I see it all the time on Facebook. They put these compilations of Trey Turner slides, and you ever see him slide? He slides so gracefully. It's awesome.
Oh yeah.
You got to watch. You got to see it to believe it. But they put it in all kinds of things. He's sliding in a home. He's sliding it on a surfboard. It's really some funny stuff. So he's got that going for him, I guess. He got some face. Time going.
Marlins were a bit of a surprise. I mean, that was nice to see.
Marlins, yes, I was a little surprised to see that. We knew they had pitching, but they hit better than we thought they would. I don't know if their midseason acquisitions actually worked out so well.
Berger did, Bell did not.
Yeah. But they had some guys. Soler had a pretty good year for them, I think. They just need to get some bats. And very surprisingly, they fired their general manager, which is shocking to me. The only woman general manager in Major League Baseball, obviously.
Was she officially fired? I thought it was a mutual thing, but who knows?
Well, I mean, you often hear it's a mutual thing. She wants to spend more time with her family, but that usually means you got fired.
No, I think she wanted to go in a direction and that they didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And I think that's what happened with Jeter. Same thing. Same management.
I mean, she did a great job. He hired her, didn't he? Before he was gone? Yeah.
Yep.
And, I don't look at it. All she did was bring it from the wasteland to 84 wins in a wild card spot. I mean, geez, what do you want?
She's a smart cookie. She's not going to have trouble finding a job.
No, I think she'll find a job for sure. In the Central, we both had the Brewers, and I did not fall into that trap of having the Brewers go a long ways in the playoffs this time.
Well, I had the Cardinals, actually.
You had the Cardinals, sorry.
Yeah, you had the Brewers.
I did have the Brewers. I know I had the Cardinals finishing second, which, again, they were probably the most disappointing team in the National League, I would say, with the Mets. The Reds surprise, the Cubs surprise. I kept waiting for the Cubs to fold.
Yep.
Who the hell is that? How's Alan get in here? Alan wants to come in. Oh, let me. Are you there, Alan?
I think you put the link in the TGI Sports chat.
Did I? Oh, that's why Drew didn't get it the first time. I put it in the wrong thing. Well, Alan, since you're here, and I'll interrupt our flow here just to say congratulations on your team winning, because I haven't had you personally.
Congratulations.
Did you buy a new hat?
Yeah, well, I mean, I had to.
You look better. Yeah, just want to throw that out there. When you had to wear the Yankee hat, I think you looked better. So, Alan, how's it feel to have your team win its first World Championship?
Holy cow! It's been such a rush since it happened. So, I'm super excited. You know, you've seen the videos, you've seen the footage. It's like, like the 62 years of waiting for most of the fan base. Going from Washington to Texas. They've been 52 years here in Arlington. So, I mean, and it finally erases the stain on our legacy that was the 2011 World Series. So, great job. So I'm happy for this team. I'm happy for the fans. They've definitely deserved it. And what a season! What a season! I didn't even think there would be a World Series team. I actually picked Cleveland, but look how that turned out.
Exactly my point. Hold on, timeout. I got to explain something to Drew. This is why you don't pick against your team ever, Drew. Ever. Anyway, Alan, continue.
Yeah. I figured they would at least try to be a playoff team. I didn't expect it to be as good of a season as it was. Seager was great. Garcia was great. And then Evan Carter at the end of the year was fantastic. So, and they're only going to get better. They're only going to get younger. They got Wyatt Langford coming pretty soon. So he got promoted to AAA towards the end of the year. There's a good chance, they've been saying, there's a good chance that he may, if he shows a good spring, he may make the opening day roster. So
it depends on what they do in the off season. I think they're going to.
Well, I mean, there's Owen White.
I think they want to give him another year of seasoning.
Mm-hmm.
Drew's microphone again.
Well, there's still Owen White, and then maybe mid-season you get Jack Leiter coming up as well. So that could definitely help with the pitching depth.
Enough with the positive stuff. Will Garcia learn how to run to first base? Easiest thing to do in all sports is to run. You only need some coordination. You don't need any talent. Will he learn to run to first base, or will he continue to turn doubles into singles?
That depends. How far was the double going to be hit?
I watched him.
If he hits it into the gap and it's clearly going into the gap, he's going to run and get a double. But if it's like going to go off the top of the wall, he may stare at it a little bit.
He did it in Game 7, an elimination game. He did it. He could have cost his team that game. Just that one instance. I can't believe I watched it. I can't believe Bruce Bochy is tolerating that type of attitude. So that's the only negative for your team.
In his defense, it missed going over the fence by a couple inches. So
it shouldn't matter.
In his defense, there is no defense for not running to first base, Alan. Come on.
Yeah, you just run, and then if it goes over, then you trot. What's the big deal?
Now, again, I'm picking on him because he's the most obvious example. He's far from the only one. I mean, this is an epidemic in Major League Baseball. So, and it happens on my team as well. And it drives me nuts watching. Well, we saw what Stanton did when he walked into home plate. Oh my God. Anyway.
I will ask you guys this. There's the one problem I had with World Series in general was the calling behind home plate. And it wasn't just for our side either. It was for both sides, really. Both the Diamondbacks and the Rangers got some bad calls from the home plate umpire, I feel.
Well, again, I think we talked about this a little bit, that I don't believe they're getting named to this series on a merit basis anymore. I think it's like a rotation thing, which is ridiculous. I think you got the best teams. You ought to have the best umpires. So, I mean, a little inconsistent, Alan. I'll give you that.
Yeah, it just didn't rub me the right way during that whole series. And like I said, it wasn't just our team either. Arizona got a couple bad calls, strike and ball calls as well. So it happened to both teams. And you could see players were getting frustrated. Even both managers were getting frustrated by the calls that were being made at home plate. And it was really just the home plate umpires. Everybody else did fine. It was just the home plate calls.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, it was the lack of consistency that the same ball in the same area would be called two different ways.
Yeah, consistency is always a big problem with calling strikes. If you're calling the same thing a ball every time, then I guess not to throw it there. Don't worry, I'm sure robot umpires are right around the corner, Alan. I'm sure.
Oh yeah, pretty sure. Or at least so far.
I have seen some videos of instant replay that they've used, I think, in some of the minor leagues, where the batter can quickly signal, I want to challenge that call, and the umpire does the same thing, and it takes like 10 seconds, and they got a yes or a no. So I don't know. I have a problem with the human element being eliminated from sports, and we're close to it all being gone. So I always give the analogy, and Alan, this won't mean as much to you. It'll mean something to Drew, that, the human error part of umpires still adds to the drama of the game. Who would remember the 1985 World Series if Don Denkinger hadn't blown a call at first base in Game 6? Nobody remembers that series, but everybody does because of that bad call. I understand it cost the Cardinals a World Series, but, the human element, Don Denkinger lives on forever. So I got before your time there, Alan. I apologize for that. But.
Oh no, you're fine. I go back in history sometimes. Like I do that, especially with the NFL. I'm not one of those young cats that think that baseball started in 2000 or any time after that. So
that's good.
I do delve into history a little bit.
Do you remember? And again, he's before your time, way before your time. And I don't know if he ever actually played for the Rangers, but we were talking about Frank Howard, who passed away earlier this week. Do you remember Frank Howard at all?
Not to my knowledge, but I do believe that there was at one point he might have played for Texas, but
I saw a picture of him in a Texas uniform taking batting practice after he passed away.
He might have been he might have been there when the franchise just moved there.
Yeah, it would have had to have been the first year, because he went on to Detroit after that, I know. But I don't have any recollection at all of him playing for the Rangers. Do you?
I know Ted Williams was our first manager, but then he didn't want to live in Arlington, so he said he just left.
Yeah.
I thought he did for a season or so, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, maybe it was that first season, and he might have got traded to Detroit maybe during that season even.
It was something like that.
I got the baseball reference right here. When I look there.
I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, 72. When they moved, he was there the first season.
Full season?
The first season that they moved, yeah.
No kidding. All right. I learned something new today. That's awesome. Well, Alan, any last words you want to give us before we let you go and we let you get your kudos out? I was definitely wrong about your team. They proved me wrong. Great resiliency, as they tried a couple times to blow it during the stretch run there, but great resiliency. Bochy did a great job, and you got a good nucleus of bats there. I can tell you that.
Yeah, I knew from when they walked off in Game 1, I was like, this game is over. This series is over. Arizona might take one from us in Texas, but like the most unprecedented thing about this whole run is that the Rangers never lost on the road. They were a terrible road team, maybe mid-road team at best in the regular season, but they never lost on the road in the postseason. So it was like, if we can get one at home, we're going to end this by Game 5, I feel.
Certainly helps you win when you win on the road. That's for sure. So
excellent point, Alan. Excellent point.
Congratulations to them, and congratulations to you, Alan. And guys, you can check out Alan. If you want to plug any of your shows on Let's Talk Sports, Alan, feel free to plug away before we let you go.
Well, yeah, you can find me mostly anywhere on Let's Talk Sports. Tuesdays, we do our own baseball show. I'm joined by former minor league player Jonathan Grishman, who's just got a job as a college position coach, I believe. So he's going to be doing that as well as somebody Keith's very familiar with, Scott Cobe. So the three of us do our baseball show on Tuesdays. So definitely check that out. And I do 2 different roundtables for 2 different NFL divisions. Of course, my division, the NFC East, and then I do the NFC South as well. Both of those are on Wednesdays. We got our Cowboys show on Saturday afternoons, and now I'm doing a college football show on Saturday morning. So we got that set up and started a couple weeks ago. So we got our 3rd episode is going to be tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern. So definitely check that out.
You replaced the late, great Dan Harris as the hardest working man in podcasting. So great job.
I'm not the only one. There's a lot of guys that are doing a lot of tough work. So
good stuff. Good job.
But yeah, shout out, rest in peace to the man himself who gave all of us this platform. And without Dan Harris, I wouldn't be doing this right now. So definitely, without you and without Dan. So I got to give you your props too.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that, and Dan's missed by all of us. So. And I give him his props every day, every show. DDH, he's my he'll live on here forever. Mm-hmm. So thanks, Alan. We'll catch your shows later, and you have a great night. You can rest up.
You too. Thank you. Thank you for mistakenly putting the link in so I could hop on here. So
yeah, I guess it's probably subliminal. I want to be able to say I was wrong in person. So.
I was like, I bet you this is the link to his baseball show. I'll jump in and give my old Rangers the good bearing. So, but yeah, thank you for having me. This was fun, and can't wait to do it again.
We'll get together soon, Alan. Thanks. Bye. Alan Corrales, you can catch him as you heard almost every night of the week on Let's Talk Sports. So great job.
Well deserved. He should have popped in. I mean,
I'm glad he did. I may have sent that link, just subconsciously. Wanted to be able to come in and crow a little bit. So good for him. Where the heck were we, Drew?
National League Central.
National League Central.
Where I had the Reds at least for 3rd.
You did a great job. I got to give you kudos on the Reds. I was not on board with the Reds at all, and you certainly saw those kids coming and getting mature in a hurry, I guess, faster than I did. So,
I didn't see Diaz getting to be so hot as their closer, though. He really... Yeah.
A little bit of a sad end to the season for them, but they have nothing to be ashamed of because again they're probably a year ahead of time, at least a year ahead. They're maybe 2 years ahead, but they'll be dangerous next year. And the Cubs, Ross did a great job with the Cubs. That's where I left off, right? Because they were another team that I kept waiting for them for fade. And they did fade out of the playoff picture, but they hung tough, and I wasn't happy with the construction of that roster, but. They did a pretty good job of hanging around with a lot of spare parts.
Yep.
In the West, I'm pretty sure I had the Padres winning, which we know how that worked out. They finished 18 games out of first place.
Yeah, I had the Dodgers.
Playoffs at all. You did have the Dodgers. Listen, I think, and before I talk about this, I'll give the rest of it. The Diamondbacks, obviously, I think we both had them around 84 wins, but not getting in the playoffs. And we had them next year. We had them pegged. I had them pegged as contenders as you did. So kudos to them for getting as far as they did. The Giants, I didn't think they'd be any good. They played better for a lot of the year than I thought they would. Gabe Kapler obviously paid the price for their failures the last couple of years. And the Rockies are just the Rockies. They're never going to have anything to say about. But, we're going to get into a little bit of the awards that we picked. But how Dave, and I don't hear this. I keep hearing Council, and I keep hearing the Braves manager's name's escaping me at the moment. I keep hearing a couple other names. I don't hear Dave Roberts. How can Dave Roberts not be a contender for Manager of the Year with everything that happened with his Dodger team during the course of the year?
Well, I just the reconstruction of his pitching staff and the bullpen. Actually, the entire pitching staff, now that I think about it, was in a shambles with injuries. And they still won 100 games. I mean,
yeah, and they lost their starting shortstop before the season started. As you said, I don't know how many guys they started. They must have started 12 pitchers this year, maybe more. I don't know.
More.
And I think I think he did one of the great managing jobs this year, but he won't get credit for it because it's the Dodgers and we should win 100 games.
Yeah, no, I expect actually, what's his face in Arizona to get it.
Lavello. He should.
Yeah.
Is it Lavello?
Lavello.
Can I call him Lavello? Because I probably
you can call him anything you want. He made it to the World Series. You can call him whatever you want.
Yeah. Plus, he got Chris Russo to retire, which I don't think is going to happen. He said he's going to hold him to the wager that he said he'd retire if the Diamondbacks made it to the World Series.
Yeah, that's not going to happen.
No, I don't think so either. I think he makes so much money. Big disappointments in the National League. We talked about the Mets, obviously. The Cardinals, obviously. I mean,
no one saw that coming.
The Padres. And I think that's really all I would say are disappointments. We had surprises, obviously, in the Diamondbacks, Cubs, I think, Reds. Well, maybe not in your mind, the Reds and the Marlins. Of these teams that have failed, who's got the best chance of bouncing back next year? Mets obviously have the money if Cohen's going to spend it. I still think it's my best bet to bounce back would be the Cardinals, just because of the organization they have as a whole.
You would think that, and normally I'd agree with you, but that was the most precipitous fall that nobody ever saw coming. Every phase of their game that people thought was going to be in place was not. I mean, it was ugly. I think they'll bounce back. I don't think they're going to bounce back to the top. And they've got a lot of holes now to fill. Their pitching staff's decimated. So that's going to be a problem, I think.
Hey, Rick, comment about the Lakers and the Celtics. Anything less than a championship. He's talking about the Dodgers, obviously. Anything less than a championship. Well, I'm the same way with the Yankees, right? Anything less than I mean, I wouldn't have been happy as a Yankee fan if they won 98 games and went out in the first round.
Right.
So I get it. I mean, certain organizations, anything less than perfect is not good enough. Let's look at a couple of the other things. Our wild cards were the Yankees, the Rays, and the Mariners for you. I didn't have. Mine did not make it. I had the Guardians. I did have the Mariners, and I did have. I believe I might have had the Orioles actually, but they won the division, so I can't even really count that. Rookie of the year. We haven't had these yet. Your pick was Henderson or Young, and I think you'll probably make out all right there. I think Henderson will win it, actually. In the American League.
Yeah. Young was injured for too much of it. I think if he had a full season, he might have had a shot.
Yeah. But he missed like a month and a half, didn't he?
Yeah.
Quite frankly, I do not remember who I had as Rookie of the Year. I know in the National League I had Carroll, which you had Schuster. Schuster, who is that? I don't even know who that is. Walker,
Schuster, the pitcher for the Braves.
Right. I think Corbin Carroll's going to win this award.
It's going to be not even close.
Yeah.
One of the few actually that people saw coming. He was so obvious based on what he did last year at the end that everyone picked him as the consensus, which is always fun to see. But right on through the year, I mean, he did everything that was literally expected of him. Yeah.
Our Cy Youngs, yours in the AL didn't do very well. Bieber.
Well, they both got injured, so what am I going to do? I had Bieber and Springs. God.
Yeah. And I know in the American League I had McClanahan, so I didn't do much better. That's not a good one. In the National League, Strider or Snell you had. I had Strider, I believe. I don't know if he's going to win or not. I don't know who's going to win that award.
It's close.
American League we can talk about. I think Cole's going to win in the American League. I think
he should.
The National League. I don't know. Who would you say is a front runner there?
Snell's definitely up for it. I mean, if you don't mind someone that walks half the team.
I have a hard time thinking they're going to go there.
His stats were, his ERA was good. His strikeouts were good. You know, I mean, he looked good. How
about got somebody in my mind here. How about Zach Gallen? Maybe. I don't think he's got overall. Snell's a lot more flashy as far as the stats go, except for the walks. Gallen is one of those. Again, you're going to build a team around him. He and Kelly. Again, you know, Spahn and Sane and pray for rain. But he's not. You're never going to see Gallen listed, I don't think, as someone in like the top 5. He's going to be one of those really, really good pitchers that pitch for years and hold their team together. You know, he is an ace, but he's not an ace in the Garrett Cole, Snell type of a mode, if you know what I mean. And kudos to Strider for winning 20 games. That's no small achievement today.
Yep.
That's for sure. So kudos to him. In the MVP race, in the American League, you had Seager or Ramirez. I do not remember who I had, to be honest with you.
I don't either. I got to write yours down next time.
If I look at some names, I might remember, but I might have picked Ohtani, or I might have.
I actually think he's going to win.
Yeah, you think he'll win?
Yeah.
Yeah, I Seager might have, if he hadn't gotten hurt, he might have had a shot. I think, but in the National League, we had Acuna. You had Acuna and Trey Turner. I think I had Acuna, and I think Acuna's going to win that for fun.
Yeah.
What a great season! That is a season for the ages. What he had today, and it's really kind of slid under the radar.
Well, not in Atlanta.
No,
40-70, right?
I mean, we ought to be talking about him. You know, he's the best player in the game right now. And I know the Mets
speed, defense. I mean, how do you beat it?
And I know the Mets are probably hoping his brother is half the player he is.
Could be.
What's he play? Is he a short? What is he? Is he a shortstop?
Yeah, he's an infielder.
You remember?
I think second. I think second base.
Second base. Well, the Mets could use him.
They got 1 million of those, so I don't know what they're going to do.
Manager of the year, American League. You had Baldelli, and the National League you had Roberts. I like your pick in the National League,
but he's not going to get it.
No, he's not. In the American League, I'm going to have to believe that Bruce Bochy's probably going to get it. I think it might be the third time.
Or maybe what's his face on the Orioles?
It could be. The hell, yeah, now I'm forgetting his name too.
I hate that.
A guy who was on the brink of getting fired a year ago in April.
Right.
God, his name will come to me.
Yeah.
What else we got here? Players you mentioned to keep an eye on. This is one of my favorite ones. Let's take a look at this. You can tell me how they did. Josh Lowe.
Yeah, there were vestiges of what he could do, but he wasn't consistent. And you got the problem there of anybody on the Rays because they always platoon everybody, so you're never going to see them as a full-fledged star that they could grow into.
Hunter Brown.
Again, inconsistent. You know, he started well for the Astros, and then they ended up sticking him in the bullpen, and you know, he's got the stuff, but the young ones, it's hard for them, except for let the Orioles do it right. I mean, Henderson and Rutschman, holy crap.
Yeah.
Those guys come up, and right from the get-go, right out of the starting blocks, they're doing exactly what they were supposed to do. Those guys are rare. There's most Evan Carter. You know, again, that's a much shorter snapshot on Carter. But those guys tend to be the exceptions. You tend to see flashes of what someone could be, and then they'll have a downtime. They'll have a slump, and you know, all this kind of stuff. And So I think that happened with him. So
Tyler Soderstrom.
yeah, that did not.
Dominic.
They brought him up. I think he hit below the Mendoza line.
Yeah. No power. I mean, this guy's just.
Which is supposed to be his hallmark.
Yeah.
He was way overmatched and was swinging at everything. It wasn't pretty.
Garrett Cooper, former Yankee.
Yeah.
Nolan Gorman.
He actually had another one of those. He started well, went into a slump. They benched him for a bit, brought him back, and then he was hitting pretty well. He's going to be good. This wasn't his year, but he's going to be good.
Hayden Wisniewski, I have no idea how he did.
He started really well for the Cubs. Solid pitcher, and then I think he got injured, and they ended up sticking him in the bullpen. I think he's going to end up being one of their 3 or 4 starter.
And Ryan Nelson and Drew Jamison.
Yeah, they're the twin brothers on the Diamondbacks. They didn't acquit themselves well in the series, but then very few Diamondbacks.
No, very few Diamondbacks did. We'll have to give them a pass for that.
Yeah.
Real quick before we wrap it up, a couple managerial openings. The Mets and Craig Counsell were supposed to sit down today, I believe.
Yeah.
I think with the jobs that are open, who's open? The Padres are open. The Astros are open. Mets are open. Who am I missing? Eddie's up here. Well, maybe
Angels.
the Brewers could be open. The Angels. I think a lot of this is going to, and the Guardians. I think a lot of dominoes are going to wait till after Counsell's signed somewhere because the Mets aren't the only suitor. There's other teams that are interested in him, including the Brewers. So they have not let him go yet. Do you think he signs with the Mets?
It's going to be the Mets or the Brewers, I think.
I think so, too.
As badly as everyone else wants him. He's from Milwaukee. That is tough as a family man to give up.
I had this thought he will stay in Milwaukee. I've thought it since the beginning.
I put it 60-40 Milwaukee Mets.
Yeah. And one other spot I'll ask you about quickly before we run out of time. A lot of rumors that Buck Showalter is in play in California with the Angels.
He's supposedly a front runner. He's also up for, where else is it? There was one other, Cleveland.
I didn't know they talked to him. Okay.
Well, he was rumored. I don't think they've actually talked to him yet. But I think it makes a lot of sense. It depends on what they want to do because the Angels could easily be below the A's next year. I mean, that team is a mess. And they literally just destroyed their minor leagues for the hope of trying to keep Ohtani happy so that he'll come back. And they have nobody coming up either. So what they need is a manager that can keep the ship steady through some very tough times.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'd like to see Buck back, and I would like to have seen him in pinstripes. And we fired Aaron Boone. That did not happen, obviously. And I'm going to have to listen to another year of Aaron Boone make excuses for players in his post-game press conference.
Oh, God. He's awesome.
Oh, God. So, anyway, we'll have a lot more to talk about, Drew, as we get into, like I said, we got the managers to talk about. We got the awards to talk about. We got the winter meetings coming up soon. So, we'll keep you on the Rolodex here, and we'll have you back.
Thank you.
And I enjoyed the last hour, as always. So, thanks for joining us, everybody. Thanks to Drew. Thanks to everybody out there on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, and Roku with the Northeast Streaming Sports. Let's talk sports. You guys have a great, great night. I'll see you Sunday morning with the Stream of Consciousness. Have a great weekend, guys.
I'll be there.